Because these battles have been done out of order, we have decided to make this video for some order and for clarification. Before we get into the battles of Lenoir Station, Fort Campbell, and Fort Sanders, we thought that this would be a great time to explain the events of the Knoxville Campaign to this point and why East Tennessee was of vital importance to the Union side of the Civil War. After these battles are finished, we will round out the winter of 1863 to 1864 with a continuation of the Knoxville Campaign to its conclusion. All aboard the Kentucky-Tennessee Living Time Machine. Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside of the vehicle at all times. But to get going, we need your help. We still need to fire up that time machine to transport us. Please help us by clicking on the like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons down below. Not only does this fire up the time machine, but it convinces the YouTube algorithm that we need a bigger time machine to reach more people who love history as much as you do. Now, back to our story. East versus West Tennessee. Even though we have lightly discussed this topic before, we felt that it needed a deeper explanation. The states of Tennessee and Kentucky almost broke in half like its counterpart Virginia did. These states were actually two different states in one. And unfortunately, the idea of the split of these states have not changed over time. The people in the region of East Tennessee were not very rich, and slavery was not adhered to in the mountain area. Many families lived off the land, and there was not a lot of money floating around at that time for a thriving slave-based economy. While several families did own slaves in the region, it was not a very common occurrence overall. This was a time before coal barons and land were sold for coal mining. There were two very important railroads in this area. The East Tennessee and Georgia Railroad connected Knoxville and Chattanooga, Tennessee to Dalton, Georgia. The East Tennessee and Virginia Railroad connected Knoxville with Bristol, Virginia. Also, there were several important rivers such as the Cumberland River, the Holston River, and the Clinch River. These rivers were very important to the shipment of goods and troops during the Civil War. The eastern part of Tennessee was held to a more Union-leaning view of the Civil War, and the western part of the state was holding more to the Confederate backing. Even though, in both regions of the state, many people fought for one side of the war or the other. Tennessee officially went with the Confederate States on April 12, 1861, being the last state to leave the Union. Then Tennessee rejoined the Union on July 24, 1866, being the first state from the Confederacy to do so. However, the majority of the population of East Tennessee did not wish to leave the Union in the first place, with the voting there being 2-1 against leaving the Union. The conflict of the people of Appalachia would not really end with the Civil War. In many cases, the war continued either politically between the Democrats and Republicans of the area, or would just continue in the form of feuding and coal mine strikes. The Civil War officially ran from April 12, 1861 through May 26, 1865. The Appalachian feuds officially continued fighting from around 1870 through the last lawsuits being finished in 1910. The major coal mine strikes took place between April 18, 1912 and May 5, 1931, with many strikes continuing to this day. If you would like to know more about this topic, please see our video called Brother Against Brother, the Civil War Inside the States. Burnside invades East Tennessee. Orders came down from President Abraham Lincoln and other government authorities from the very early days of the Civil War to capture and hold East Tennessee. However, the Cumberland Plateau was not a very easy area to gain access to. There were no other railroads connecting the area to other places. The plan was to hit East Tennessee on two fronts at the same time. Burnside was tasked to invade East Tennessee on the same day that the Army of the Cumberland was ordered to capture Chattanooga, Tennessee. Early in May of 1863, the 9th Corps, Brigadier General Orlando B. Wilcox, recommended that Colonel William P. Sanders take command of the operation to invade East Tennessee, with the mission to destroy important railroad bridges around Knoxville, Tennessee area to make the supply trains for the Confederate Army stop running. Colonel Sanders was appointed commander of the 5th Kentucky Cavalry Regiment on March 4, 1863. Under this recommendation, Burnside ordered the cavalry raid, which destroyed railroad bridges east and west of Knoxville, Tennessee. And they would leave out for this mission from Mount Vernon, Kentucky on June 14, 1863. On June 2, 1863, Burnside and his Army of the Ohio left Burnside's headquarters in Cincinnati, Ohio. The very next day, instead of following Lincoln's orders and marching into East Tennessee, Burnside received orders and sent 8,000 of his men from the Ninth Corps under the command of Major General John Parke to assist General Grant with the siege of Vicksburg. This caused a delay in the invasion of East Tennessee until August 16th, when Parke and his men returned. On August 24th, 1863, Burnside began his invasion of East Tennessee. Splitting his troops in half, Burnside's infantry entered Tennessee through Kingston, while a Union cavalry brigade went to Knoxville. In the meantime, Brigadier General Simon Bolivar Buckner, a Confederate commander of the East Tennessee, had orders to evacuate Knoxville on August 22nd. Buckner took 8,000 troops and left small garrisons to protect the Confederate holdings in East Tennessee. On the way out, Buckner ordered the burning of the bridge at Loudon. By September 1st, Burnside's cavalry brigade were able to enter unopposed into Knoxville. Burnside ordered Brigadier General Julius White's infantry division to take and hold Loudon. On September 9th, Confederate Brigadier General John W. Frazier surrendered 2,000 troops at the Battle of the Cumberland Gap to Union Colonel John F. DeGorsey. Shortly after this battle, Burnside ordered a telegraph line to run from Knoxville to Kentucky. Reinforcements arrived on September 24th, and the Ninth Corps, with 6,000 soldiers in 2 divisions, joined Burnside in Knoxville. Another reinforcement arrived on October 3rd with the Brigadier General Orlando B. Wilcox and 3,000 Indiana troops arriving at Cumberland Gap. 4 days after the Battle of Blue Springs on October 10th, Burnside returned to Knoxville, Tennessee. On October 20th, the Battle of Philadelphia took place. Shortly after the Battle of Philadelphia, Tennessee, in 1863, Major General Burnside set his sights upon Knoxville, Tennessee. Colonel Sanders had given Burnside valuable information about the area of East Tennessee when he returned from his raids earlier that year. Please see our videos on the battles of Cumberland Gap, Philadelphia, Blue Springs, and Sanders raids for more details. Lieutenant General James Longstreet. At the time that Burnside was beginning his East Tennessee campaign, Lieutenant General James Longstreet was engaged in the Chickamauga battle at Chattanooga, Tennessee. Concerned that Burnside was able to attain so many victories in Tennessee, Braxton Bragg asked Jefferson Davis, the Confederate president, to order Longstreet to move against Burnside. At first, Longstreet objected to this order. Longstreet was heavily engaged in the Battle of Chickamauga, and he knew that Burnside heavily outnumbered his men. His argument was that if the Confederate side divided their forces between Chattanooga and Knoxville, that they would expose themselves to a great failure. This fear and statement would turn out to be prophetic. In next week's video, we will begin the movement of Longstreet's troops and the first battle between Longstreet and Burnside at Lenoir Station. Thank you. We at Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for watching our video series on the Appalachian Civil War battles. Don't forget to hit that like button, as the more likes we receive, the more likely YouTube is to suggest our videos to other viewers. Also, to receive notice when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification button. We thank you for continuing to support Kentucky Tennessee Living as we are discovering the mysteries in Appalachian history.